And welcome to another episode of the Mark Bishop Show. You know, phase 2 of 1 Million Truths launches today. It's a big day. You may hear this later on than January the 16th, 2024, but it is the National Day of Racial Healing. 1 Million Truths. It assembles scientists, U.S. technology giants, and Fortune 500 brands for unprecedented research and artificial intelligence-driven solutions to racial conflict. So let me give you an overview. 1 Million Truths, folks, OMT. It's a science-based initiative dedicated to building solutions to resolve racial conflict by leveraging the power of AI. And it launches today, being National Day, as I said, of Racial Healing. It begins a 2-year effort to collect stories from Americans nationwide about the impact of racial and ethnic conflict. Boy, do we have that. In fact, 1 Million Truths invites individuals from diverse backgrounds across America to share their personal stories by visiting 1milliontruths.com to upload their truths using their mobile phones. Now, the project originated by Mark Eckhardt, CEO of Common. It's a worldwide organization dedicated to helping organizations solve the world's most challenging problems. Boy, they must have a few headaches at the moment. It was founded in 2020 at the height of the George Floyd protests. Mark Eckhardt, CEO of Common, welcome, my friend.
Thank you, Mark. It's great to be here. Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
Well, mate, OMT seeks to address the underlying causes of racial and ethnic conflict by answering the critical question: what's working to address racial conflict and what isn't, correct?
That is the question. It absolutely is. And I'm going to go back in time very quickly to give you context and just to kind of fill in some blanks there. So, soon after starting 1 Million Truths, we began inviting people to share their stories. And after doing that for several months, we started to detect consistencies in the things that people were sharing about their work and their efforts to enact change. We heard from the CEO of a very large media corporation who declared and insisted that thousands of people had raised their hands during the protests and declared that they had the solution. And he said, look, none of us have the solution. We heard from many, many, many young people who are very active and very involved in building bridges in communities across the country who are just absolutely exhausted. And we heard from the chief diversity and inclusion officer at Nike at the time, who insisted that DEI needed innovation immediately. So all of that gave us reason to pause. And then Gina Belafonte really drove that point home when she said, hey, what's the larger strategy for the movement? I'm really, really concerned that we're all going to retreat to our silos. And so that's how we got to that question: what's working about the way racial and ethnic conflict is being addressed and what isn't? That question led us to 3 years of research, very, very immersive research. As you've mentioned, Mark, we've been learning from and collaborating with scientists and technologists and peace builders and designers around the world. We even conducted a series of formal studies with the Morton Deutsch International Center for Cooperation and Conflict Resolution. And we've spoken to hundreds of people, a broad range of people and Americans across the country, spanning Fortune 500 executives and celebrities and academics. And that research led us to intractable conflict. And so we see racial dynamics through that lens. And an example of intractable conflict is what's happening in the Middle East right now, or the war in the Ukraine. These are long-standing problems that have flared up again. And the thing that makes intractable conflict extremely difficult to solve is the fact that they're not caused by one thing. Intractable conflict, rather, is caused by many different sources of tension that combine and feed off one another. And so understanding that is critical to healing and reconciliation. And in my experience, to bring this back to that question about what's working and what isn't, is I think that all of us in general need a much deeper understanding. We need to cultivate, develop a much deeper understanding of the dynamics that are affecting us and playing out in our lives and our communities. And in my case, right up to the point where I founded 1 Million Truths, things were quite binary. I didn't have room to go. I didn't have anything to really rely on. Mm-hmm. And I found myself angry and isolated and feeling inadequate.
Well, you are quoted as saying, Mark, I thought I understood racism until I tried to help end it. Racism is a form, as you say, racism is a form of or an aspect of intractable conflict. Intractable conflicts are caused by many different sources of tensions that feed off one another in ways that are difficult to change. And now is the time to use new modalities and emerging technologies, including AI, to find solutions to the issues. How can the power of AI, Mark, address the underlying issues of racism?
Well, first, it's important to really embrace that it's AI in partnership. It's AI stewarded by human beings. But what we learned from our research is that we need help we need help to better understand what's happening in our communities across the country. We have the challenge of social media filter bubbles. There's all kinds of information wars and political propaganda that make it very, very hard to know what's actually the truth. And by using AI and basing our use of AI on personal stories, authentic stories, we can get a better sense of the collective experience we're having across the country. And I think that's very powerful, and that sets us up to analyze our stories in the context of a database and come up with things that are working that can be replicated. We'll identify behaviors and ways of thinking that are prohibiting progress, and we'll spot ways, for example, to maximize resources. So I think the combination of the relationship between human beings and the use and application of AI ethically is a powerful combination to drive change.
Brilliant answer. That really explains it. Folks, 1 Million Truths. It invites individuals from diverse backgrounds all across America to share your personal stories by visiting 1milliontruths.com. Upload your truths. You can use your mobile phones. All right. And the effort is, this whole project is about a 2-year effort to get 1 million stories. Now, I wanted to ask you this, Mark, before we run out of time. Tell us about your company, Common.
Common was founded in 2010. We founded the organization specifically to help people design solutions to the world's most challenging problems. So over the years, we've worked with folks in 38 industries in 27 countries. We've helped people generate immeasurable social and environmental impact, and we've also helped people generate about $100 billion in organizational value.
Wow.
I've been really privileged over the years to work with presidential candidates, top economists, executives at Fortune 500 corporations, and really talented up-and-coming entrepreneurs who all want to make a difference while at the same time building great businesses and organizations. It's been tremendous work. It's been so fun, and it's put me at the intersection of climate change and biodiversity loss, or human migration and macroeconomics, or conflict and peace building. So it's been a wonderful journey. I've learned a lot, and I've just kind of been in the middle of a lot of things that I think are important to bring to 1 million troops.
Yeah, I'd love to list them all, but we don't have that time. But just as an example, you've got the Nina and Del Shaw, we've got Nike, we've got Devon Franklin, we've got the Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences, and there are many, many, many more. Now, we've run out of time nearly, but I did want to ask you, can anybody do this? I mean, Mr. Layman, can he just get onto that, 1milliontruths.com, share a particular story, or is it limited?
It is not limited. Anyone, and I hope everyone, will go to 1milliontruths.com and record their story and submit it to be part of this historic collection, and to be part of the solutions that we're going to generate. As far as we're aware of, we are really the first platform to invite the entire country to submit their truths, have their truths be acknowledged, have them registered, and again, participate in new solutions that are really, really desperately needed at this point.
Okay, and a quick example, all right? What truth, give me a quick example of Mr. Layman with a truth.
Sure. A truth is simply an experience or a story about an experience that you've had. For me personally, there was a point a few years ago where I had several encounters with private security personnel. And in each occasion, I was parked alongside the curb in my car, taking business calls. And when they approached me and engaged me, they shared that they had received numerous reports of my presence at that time. The thing that was so shocking and quite painful was that happened no more than 3 or 4 blocks from my home. So that's an example of racial and ethnic conflict playing out. That's an example of a truth that's specific to racial and ethnic conflict playing out.
Okay.
And it has now gone into the database. And it's an example of the kind of information story that we'll analyze and use to create solutions.
Interesting. Very interesting indeed. Very factual. Well, that really makes it very clear for me, crystal clear. Mark Eckhardt is my special guest, the founder of Common. And this is a massive project. It's a brilliant project. I wish you all the best in the world with it. And maybe stay in touch with us. Keep us in touch. Okay, Mark?
I would love to do so, and I'm just very grateful to be on your show, to have a chance to speak with you today.
You're most welcome. Thank you. Goodbye now.
Be well.